I'm Anna Langman, she, her, hers. I'm a cis woman. I'm asexual. My romantic orientation, my partner right now, and probably forever, my partner's name is May, so I've just been saying that I'm May romantic because I hadn't been 100% sure. I am a graduate student. So according to Social Security, I'm not disabled because they didn't want to give me money. But my therapist assures me that that's real. So I'm disabled from some mental illnesses and then also some physical conditions that kind of all overlap into like a clusterfuck of now I can't do anything. I am a theater person. I'm a playwright and a Shakespeare person primarily. I write a lot of sonnets. For me, it was like the documentary Shakespeare Behind Bars that we saw in high school. I went to the Lehigh Valley Charter High School for the Arts. I was a theater major. And so in one of our classes there, we watched this documentary in class of they were doing a production of The Tempest in a prison. And, it was healthy for the people involved. It was really transformative. It put in really stark contrast, like just being kind of held hostage versus being actually helped and like developing as a person. To my memory, that's kind of where it started for me. And then, so I trained at Shakespeare and Company, the theater company in Lenox, Massachusetts. And they have a program up there where in Lenox, if you're a juvenile offender, you can either go to juvie or be in a Shakespeare play. And we saw one of those plays and it was absolutely wild. They seemed to get really good results from like doing something with the kids instead of just like sending them away somewhere. Some of them seemed really into it and like committed to it. And then it also ties into like police reform and marijuana legalization. Weed is literally fine. It's like pretty harmless as a thing. It's like really nobody needs to be in jail for that. And like I have it medicinally and I'm not in jail. So it's just like everything kind of ties in together that it just makes sense for me. And like I read recently America's 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prison population. That can't possibly be necessary. There's absolutely no way.
I kind of wanted to bring up how privilege can play a huge role in that and what that looks like within the queer community. Because of course, the prison system and the carceral system is so complicated in how it oppresses people. So for people of color and brown folks, that can look like having to pay a massive amount of money to get out of jail for a minor offense like possession of marijuana. But that might not happen to like a white cis man or woman. And then for queer folks, being incarcerated as a queer person can look so difficult because of how the carceral system enforces the gender binary and how heteronormative a lot of the practices in a lot of this country is. I was wondering if you had any insight on what it's like to support prison abolition as a queer person and how the experience with being an activist for prison abolition might look different if you're a queer person.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think that I personally know anybody who has been incarcerated, and so I don't have that personal connection that a lot of people have. And like obviously I'm white and people assume the best of me in the world. Being asexual for me, it's like it's kind of an invisible queerness because you might have a partner less often, or like I have never had a serious partner until my current relationship right now. So I feel like I could go through the world and like nobody would really know. Like I very much had a choice if anybody were to know if I were queer or not. Right now, I do have a trans partner. Like I always kind of cared about issues for trans people, but now it feels really personal. And I do have more of those, like I'm a little nervous in public if somebody is going to be cruel to my partner, if they don't like the way they present. It's definitely a safety issue for trans people to be in many situations, but in prisons, it could be life or death. I just don't want people to die. I don't want people to get abused because the people they're surrounded by think that the person is presenting themselves in a way they're not comfortable with. Or like, I feel like a lot of these issues just come down to, why would you let harm and unhealth and death happen if it's preventable?